Oh, hi. Welcome to Aquata Zoo, where we like to nerd out over all things zoo and aquarium related. I'm l.semple, and today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how interviewing is a skill. I thought it would make sense since I recently did an episode on hiring and how challenging that can be. A lot of it from a leader's perspective. It happens. Everybody needs help, including leaders, right? And so I figured this time I could talk a little bit more to the interview process. And I guess maybe a little bit of both sides, but probably more on the interviewee, the person being interviewed, just because I've seen I've seen a lot of things. It's not always super smooth sailing, right? And so I thought it'd be a good idea to just touch on it. We can talk a little bit about it and like what you can do to improve your success as an interviewee. Number one, I would say, is prepare for the interview somehow. There's a lot of things you can do, and it entirely depends on the type of interview that you're going for. So, is this an entry level position? Is this a medium kind of technical position? Is this a leadership position? There's a lot of aspects. The different types of work involved also matter. In the field that you're looking to join, understand what somebody in that position should know and be able to answer about that kind of job. When I have opened entry level jobs or have been part of entry level job interviews, it's kind of shocking the number of people who don't really understand the field at all and don't really know what kind of job this is or what kind of knowledge they should have going into it, which is generally pretty minimal. But like, let's say, okay, for instance, I work in an aquarium and I've had people not understand that animal care jobs are very routine. And so people who like to work on big projects and change, like things change every day and that sort of thing, is not going to be an appealing job for them. Like this match is not going to go well, right? I've been in teams where this type of person is hired for a job that is heavily dependent on a routine and they're not happy, right? It's because they're looking for something interesting. They want to keep learning and they want to do new things, which is great. I love that. But they're not interested in the routine stuff, and that's the core of animal care. We always have to check on the animals. We always have to give them their food. We always have to do their, medications, their cleaning, like all of that kind of stuff. It is a routine. And so the folks who are really not into routines have a really hard time, especially in those lower levels of the organization, getting through the day because it's just not interesting to them. And so just keep that in mind. Whether you're looking for a job or you are hiring for a job, make sure that the natural style of the person involved matches the job. So, again, if this is like entry level, know the type of job that you're going for. Have a decent basic understanding of the types of questions you might be asked, whether that's you've asked for help from somebody who's already in the field or you've just kind of Googled it, whatever. Just have an idea of the basics of what we're talking about here, the basics of the job, the type of work you would be expected to do if you successfully landed this job. If nothing else, at least research the company, the organization. There's a lot of people that I've been involved with that don't know anything about the institution where they are, like where they're interviewing and what that institution does. And that's not just a zoo and aquarium thing, that's a general business thing. They might not actually know what your company does or what your mission is or anything like that. I'm not saying you have to memorize anything. There are some interview processes that I've run into where they actually want you to quote back what the mission is and just to prove that you looked it up. I feel like that's a little overkill. If you're the type of interviewer, the type of hiring manager who depends on that, stop it. It's enough to know like the name of the institution where you're at, the type of work that you do, and just a general idea of how you operate. You're not going to know the ins and outs of everything, and you don't have to memorize their mission. That's silly. But Anyway, just know where you're interviewing and who you're interviewing with, maybe. If you have a chance to look them up, you could. You don't necessarily have to, but more information is better than less, right? So a lot of people are on LinkedIn. You might want to look them up. You might be interested in what they're interested in. If somebody ever interviewed with me and mentioned my podcast, I'd be very surprised. They don't have to do that. That's totally fine. In fact, I prefer that they not. But, whatever, it's fine. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, like, do a little bit of research on what you're trying to get yourself into, right? Not just so you can impress the interviewers, but really just so you understand what this company is about, what this organization does, what kind of work we're talking about here. Show some interest in making sure that this is the right position for you, too, right? The interview process, it's a back and forth, a conversation. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, right? You want to make sure that you're finding the position that you jive with, because you're at work a lot. Like, I don't think people realize, like, how much they're at work. Like, in some sense we do, but honestly, I spend more time at work with the people there and doing that job than I do at home, in my waking hours at least, or with my family. So you want to make sure that the choices that you make when it comes to your employment are in your best interest in the long term. I understand that there are times when it's hard out here and that you're making a decision based on the need. And if you're offered a job, you're just going to take it because you need to have something. I understand how that works as well. Been there, done that. But if you're looking to further yourself in your career and you're in a position where you can say no to a job, that's what I'm talking about here. If you have the ability to investigate the organization and or the management style of the leader and all that kind of stuff during that interview process and make a really educated decision about it based on everything you've seen and all that, that's going to be in your best interest long term. It's not just the company or the organization looking for a person to fill this position. You're also looking for a company that you're going to jive with, or an organization that's going the direction that you would like it to go, or is doing a mission that you believe in, that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that that matches you just as much as you match them. I know this sounds stupid, but if you are interested in getting better at interviewing and showing less nerves, practice. If you're anything like me, I don't like talking in front of people. A little odd that I'm in a podcast right now, and that's literally what I do. But, I mean, eyeballs on me, I'm talking in front of everyone, and their attention's on me. I hate that. I do. And so it's tough, especially in the zoo and aquarium field. Most of the time you're dealing with panel interviews. So that means that you've got more than one person on the other side of that table or whatever that are trying to ask you questions, right? It's not just one person making the decision. It's usually a group of them, right? And so it's difficult to be in that kind of pressure and not let your nerves get the best of you. I totally understand. Been there, done that. Been in so many panel interviews that last days, if not longer. The higher you move in a zoo or aquarium, the longer and more intense those interviews get, right? You're going to be brought to that zoo or aquarium, and they're going to bring you to many groups of people so you can talk to many levels of the institution, right? And it's nerve-wracking, and you get tired, especially if you're an introvert like me. You get really exhausted. But it's a necessary thing. I understand why it's done that way, because they really want to see how you handle that kind of pressure, how you hold up over the course of the day doing that kind of thing. They want you to legitimately meet all of these different people so that there's lots of different thoughts and opinions about how they think that you would fit the organization and how you then have the opportunity to get to know them as well. This is not a one-way street. This is a two-way street. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So, that being the case, you need to do a little bit of practice to get more comfortable saying what you want to say. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have somebody on the other side of your speech, I guess. You don't necessarily have to have somebody sitting there pretending to interview you. If you have that, that's even better. But if you don't have that, just saying some of the stuff out loud is helpful. I'm not one to be big on talking about myself and how great I am. And I'm sure there's lots of other people that are out there like me. However, saying it out loud, practicing it out loud, and how I would want to say that so I can kind of hone my wording to just exactly the way I want to say it has been very helpful for me. The other thing that I have done, which, you might want to do, but it's not for everyone for sure. People think I'm absolutely insane for doing this, but just applying for jobs to get interviews. And it's not necessarily jobs that I'm going to match well with that I know of, but I do want to get those interviews just so I have more practice doing them. So over the course of the last probably 20 years, I've done a bajillion interviews and I've gotten much better at it. I am more comfortable kind of answering things on the fly. I'm more comfortable making eye contact, and I'm a little bit better at talking about myself and my accomplishments just because I've done it so much. And it sounds crazy, I know that, and I'm not saying that I'm wasting anybody's time either. Honestly, a lot of the time I'm applying for jobs that are well out of my comfort zone and my current level, maybe, I guess I would say. That way I can kind of gauge how I'm doing relative to my industry. So I can tell whether people like my information, my application, my resume, and if something in there jives with them that caught their attention enough that they want to talk to me, right? It's kind of a weird thing to do, but I basically am looking for jobs that are outside my usual realm of what I think I can do. There's always the possibility that someone sees a spark in you that is the thing that they've been looking for, right? So even not even job related, for AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, they have lots of volunteers from zoos and aquariums across the country, and they're doing all kinds of really cool things, right? And so at one point I was like, hey, I would love to teach other people about animal training and enrichment programs and like how to keep those running and keep people motivated, because I'm accidentally good at those things, right? So I applied randomly for an instructor position for a class that does just that, because I took the class once upon a time and I was like, hey, I could probably do that. And I loved the class. And so I applied to be an instructor for the class, not thinking that I was going to be able to do it. And suddenly, boom, here I am. I'm an instructor for this class. It happened again when I found another class that is in development that's specifically talking about developing animal care people as leaders. And that is right up my alley. I love that kind of stuff, but it's intense to be an instructor, right? But I applied for that, went through that interview process, and I was interviewing them just as much as they were interviewing me, and we found it to be a very good match. And so when I got the offer, that is outside the realm of things that I thought I could do, and here we are, we're doing it. So, aim high, I guess, and stretch yourself, because that's how you grow. But the whole point is that I have done lots of interviews and lots of institutions have not elected to hire me, and that's okay. I have also turned down many institutions, sometimes because I don't feel like I would jive. There have been other reasons as well that I won't get into, but there have been times where I've gotten some, I guess, heebie-jeebies about what's going on in certain situations, and I know that that would not be an environment that I would thrive in, and therefore that is why I turned it down, right? And yeah, there have been jobs all along the time that I've been doing these random interviews that I was really hoping that I would get the offer, and I'm not applying just for fun. There's a reason that I'm applying. A, because it will grow me as a professional. B, because I want the practice, because I'm not super duper confident in my interview skills. I'm much better than I used to be, for sure. And C, because I think it would be a really neat opportunity if it did work out well, right? And so the interview process in all of these cases is super interesting, super tiring, But in the end, even just the interview process can help you out as a professional. I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to waste these organizations' time with applying for things. I do apply for things that I think I could do and things that I am interested in. I'm not just wasting time. But I just have to throw that in there. There's a reason that I'm applying, or many reasons in some cases. And in cases where it didn't work out, it's strictly because something about the interview process or the job was not matching with what I envisioned for my future. And that's okay. And there have been times where I've had to turn something down that I was absolutely crushed about. Heartbroken. Absolutely. I don't love that. And I still wonder sometimes if I'd been able to say yes, what would be different now. But, that's life, right? And so do the interview, right? Do the application, put your time and effort into it, take that interview and do your best all the time. But my point with all of this is to practice. Whether you're talking by yourself in a closet like I am now, my recording closet, or you've got somebody who's willing to go back and forth with you on some questions, whether it's, somebody who's working in the industry now or just a loved one, that's all fine. Get used to hearing your voice and how you word things, talking about yourself and what you hope for, what you want to do, what you have to offer, all of that. So that when you get to the point that you're in an interview and your nerves are kind of starting to take over, you can just kind of lean on your experience of just talking, making eye contact, talking about yourself, talking about what you have to offer, asking questions is also really important. And so just being able to be there and maybe take a little bit of the weight of the nerves off so that you can perform a little bit better, it's worth it. It's worth it. So if there's ever a job opening that you see, that you come across and you're like, man, I would really love to do that someday, go ahead and apply. If they're really not into what you have or what you offer, then so be it. That's fine. It might feel like wasted time, but you know what? Someday somebody's going to bite and they're going to take you up on that offer to interview. And if you've done a little bit of practice and prepared yourself ahead of time, you know what the job is, you know the organization reasonably, and you know what you have to offer to them, you can then free up your brain to be a little bit more conversational and less kind of robot-like, less nervous, and also your brain will be a little bit freer to observe what's happening around you during the interview process. This happens virtually as well, so it works probably better in person, but it also works virtually. You can be more observant and cognitive of the things that are happening during the interview process that give you clues about how that organization works and whether you want to be a part of it or not. I know during an interview process that I went through at one point, I went against my gut and went with the organization. I don't regret it necessarily, but I was getting red flag after red flag. And I did it anyway. And in the end, again, I don't regret going. However, that was tough. I was hurting a lot through my time at that facility. And, that I knew that, so I really only had myself to blame. But smarter, more experienced me would look at that and be like, no, that's not good enough for me. That's not what I envisioned for my life. And I would know better now to just not do that. But, you do what you need to do. I was kind of desperate at the time. I needed certain things out of my work, and I knew that it was going to be rough. I went for it anyway. It was against my better judgment, but that's okay. It turned out fine in the end, but it was a struggle there for a minute. And so had I known better and been smarter about it, I would have made a better decision at the time, but that's youth, right? That's what we all do. There are better judgments to be made, and sometimes we just don't make them, and that's okay. But I just want to make sure that everybody who is interested in interviewing and trying to find new positions and move around a little bit, even if you're staying within your institution and you have to interview, you need skills for that. And it's a skill. Interviewing is a skill that can be built and refined and improved. So don't get bogged down in your own mind with the thought that you are not good at interviewing. You can be. And it just takes some work. It doesn't have to be super intense. I'm an introvert. I don't necessarily love talking to people, and I really don't love talking about myself. So it has taken me some time to get comfortable talking to myself. It's just like, when I started this podcast, I didn't want to hear my voice. But guess what? I've listened to thousands of hours of me talking at this point, and now it doesn't bother me. This is just it. This is who I am. This is how I sound. And that's that, right? I had to get over that for myself. It didn't bother anybody else. It was only bothering me. So it's a similar kind of situation here, right? All you have to do is put in some work to be better at interviewing. And even if you don't do the practice, which I still highly recommend that you do, like even if you're just saying the words out loud to no one, to the wall, whatever, saying the words about how you can benefit the organization and the things that you bring to the table, and talking about your history and your successes, whatever challenges you might want to bring in, that all helps. But just doing the legwork of researching the job, understanding what the role is, reading that job description really thoroughly, coming up with questions about it that you might have, understanding the organization that you're interviewing with and what they do and what they value is really helpful. It shows that you are putting some effort into understanding how this might work out in the end, and that you are serious about possibly joining this organization if you've gotten this far and you're interviewing and you know something about the organization, right? And it also helps you to recognize when you're seeing things that you don't think are great. If you're in an interview and someone is being very snippy with another member of like the interview panel, that might be a red flag to you. It would be to me, because I want to know how these people treat each other, how they talk to each other. Is it respectful? Is it kind? Those are the things that I would like to know so that I can file that away with my decision making about this job. Do I want to join an organization where one person is allowed to be snippy and nobody says anything about it, or they can't lock it up long enough to just conduct an interview? There's things about that I'm thinking when I see it. And if you're worried less about your performance and what's going on, and using the interview process as a chance to get to know their group, get to know their company, their organization, how it functions, how people treat each other, you'll get a lot more information out of that interview process than if you were just locked into trying to justify how you need this job. Make sure you come with questions. There's always questions to be had, right? If you did not see something that you're interested in knowing more about in regards to the job, the position, or the work, bring those questions with you. Always ask something, because this is a two-way street. They're trying to get to know you and you're trying to get to know them. Surely there's got to be something that you're curious about that was not obvious as part of the job posting or the organization's website, or, in the interview process. There's got to be a question that came to mind. And if there's not, you can always look up questions that you might want to know more about. Just, looking up what questions can I ask of an interview panel or something after my interview. And you'll get just kind of generic questions about how the company works, or what you can expect of the role, or something like that. Just come with something. There's got to be something that you want to know about the job. Make sure you ask it, and make sure it's respectful and appropriate for the timing. For example, if you're in an interview and they ask all of their questions, they ask you if you have any questions, and you ask, how many days of vacation leave do I get? That is not the appropriate time necessarily to ask that question. Can you do it? Absolutely. If you really want to know that, I maybe wouldn't lead with that question. I would ask something more along the lines of, going into this interview, what is your ideal candidate like? What skills do they have? What values do they possess? What kind of work are they doing and skilled with? What is your absolute envisioning of a perfect candidate to fill this position? That'll give you something like that will give you more information about what they're looking for, and you can then decide if you fit that mold or not. They also may not know what they're looking for, and that might be okay too. I would hope that they have at least an idea or prioritization of skills or abilities that they have in mind before they go into that interview process. And if you are an interviewer and you don't, fix it. Have an idea of what you're looking for, please. You could also ask, what does a typical day in the life of someone in this position look like? And that gives them a chance to give you an idea of how you would work and how they would expect you to operate. That is helpful. You can decide then if that's what you want to do, if that's something you're looking forward to. That specifically is really good to help figure out whether you're dealing with somebody who is more interested in projects and learning new things rather than routine, if the job is routine. Because if it is full of projects and new fun things every day, then you might have found the perfect person, right? So understanding what a typical day would look like is really helpful in judging whether you fit that or not, and whether you're interested in doing that every day. Asking about the hiring manager or the next line manager's style their leadership style is very helpful, because it may not match what you're looking for. Or it might, and you'll know better now, right? And having that person, most likely they're in that interview, right? Having them describe how they like to operate will give you great insight into what's happening on the day-to-day for that team or that person who would be in that position, and you can decide for yourself whether that is for you or not. Asking about the composition of the other folks on the team, like what are our strengths here? What are the weaknesses? Like, where are we trying to go in the future? What are the future projects? What's on the horizon? Is this job going to change in the next 6 months to a year? What are your expectations in the next 6 months from a person in this position? Like, how fast are we moving as far as what you intend for this person to learn and be able to do on their own within a certain time frame? These are all questions that you can ask, and that will help you figure out if you, as the interviewee, are the right fit for this organization, for this team, for this job, and demonstrate that you care about the decision and that you're interested in having that two-way conversation. It gives them a chance to explain better what they're looking for and if they have prepared for the interview as well. Because sometimes they haven't, and that is going to come up if they have not prepared for what the questions might be that are coming at them as part of the interview process. Because I have worked with some managers who are more interested in finding the person and then don't really know what that looks like, right? They basically have the idea of the last person who held that position, and they're just like, I need to hire another one of those. That might not be appropriate, and it might not be helpful for their team, because if that previous person is still there and is just doing a different role, now you've got two people who are trying to do the same type of work or approach things the same type of way, and it's not helpful. It's not broadening the horizons of the group in general. It's not growing everybody's skill set. It's just there's more people that specialize in the same thing. And so having a leader or an interviewer kind of describe what they hope to see also helps to identify whether they prepared for this interview or not. And that can give you valuable information as well. In the end, I just want everybody to prepare for interviews, whether you're the hiring manager or you're the interviewee, right? And make sure that this is a two-way street for communication. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, and you're trying to see if you can find the right fit for the right time, for the right team, for the right organization. And it's hard to do that sometimes, especially when you're just basing it off of interviews. You don't know how these people work on the fly. You don't know how they handle the pressure. You don't know what happens when there's, an emergency. Everybody responds differently, right? But having these more meaningful conversations rather than just answering the questions as asked and just being kind of robotic about it gives you more insight into how both parties work. So be prepared on both ends and do some practice. Especially if you're the interviewee. Do a little practice and it will help you immensely, even though it's really uncomfortable. Okay, if you have any questions about that or any other leadership or management things or zoo and aquarium stuff, you can write it up in an email and send it to me at aquatazoo@gmail.com. If you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you do, don't forget you can follow or subscribe on your podcast player of choice. That way you'll get all of that sweet, sweet content as soon as it releases. And if you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can find me at patreon.com/aquatazoo. If you're looking to take a vacation and you don't know where to start, I happen to be a personal vacation advisor with Magical Vacation Planner, and I would love to help you out. It does not cost you anything extra. The links are in the show notes. Okay. Thanks for listening. I heart your faces. Okay, bye.